Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes and Jordan Martinook were able to rally to take down the St. Louis Blues after falling down 2-0 early in the second period. Find out how they did it and what they need to do to continue their winning ways in this episode of Locked on Hurricanes.
You're Locked on Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked on Hurricanes on the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, thank you for making Locked on Hurricanes your first listen of this Friday afternoon. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And folks, last night the Carolina Hurricanes were taking on the St. Louis Blues. This was what ended up being their third win in a row after having dropped 5 straight previously. Now we've gotten wins against Calgary, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis now. And this was all really, really good stuff. And, well, not all good stuff because the first period was not great. And the first period was all St. Louis, especially Jordan Binnington. And, the Hurricanes, at first, whenever that first period was going on, I'm like, okay, we're those 2 wins against Calgary and Pittsburgh, they were just flashes in the pan. And then getting into the second period as well of it going the way it did as well to start off with. And I really thought we're just falling right back into the same hole we're in. But thankfully the Hurricanes were able to stick with it. And in that first period alone, the Hurricanes had 5 high danger chances. Jordan Staal alone had 2 of them. And Binnington, he was able to make some great saves and keep the Hurricanes off the board. And it was really frustrating in terms of the penalties. That was my big negative for this game, because the Hurricanes gave up 2 power play goals. The first one being that one at the end of the first period, and then another one later on in the game as well. And the penalty kill, it's slowly getting better, but it's still not where we know it can be. Right now, the Hurricanes penalty kill is ranked 18th in the NHL at 78 point. Oh God, I can't even read my own handwriting. Looks like 3%. But when we're coming off last year where it was historically good, it is a little frustrating whenever we see stuff like this. But the Hurricanes, they were able to bounce back. You get into that second period, and that's where things really turned around for the Hurricanes. Obviously, the Blues went up 2-0 a little over 2 minutes into that second period, but thankfully the Hurricanes were able to bounce back big and quickly. They scored 3 times in just 64 seconds. The first one was a Brent Burns goal coming off an Andrei Svechnikov's screen, and that's why that's why we brought Brent Burns in, is for stuff like this. We know he can do it, and he has struggled some this year, but I feel like it's slowly starting to come together. The defensive issues weren't as apparent in this game. It very well could have been, the Hurricanes were able to bounce back and win. But then we had Jordan Martinook get his first of 3 goals on the night off Brady Shea block. And then, the third one that gave the Hurricanes the lead was a Seth Jarvis snipe. And Jordan Martinook, I said it, earlier in the year, I was a little hesitant to say that it could be a career year for him. But, I feel that, seeing the same sentiment echoed by a lot of people on social media is that maybe those waivers were what he needed to bounce back and, get that fire back. Again, he's healthy now, which I think is, a really big part of the equation there. But, this was his first hat trick since November 2018 against the Florida Panthers. And he really seems to be getting back into that 2018, 2019 form, whenever, the Hurricanes finally, went back to the playoffs. And, we're going to pull up, his stats on the year right now, just to kind of see, what we're looking at from him. And because it's really nice to see things really starting to come together for him now, because if you remember, at the end of the year last year and this year, a lot of folks were kind of calling for his head and, getting him out of here. And, whenever the waivers, ended up happening, it was really something. A lot of folks were thinking, oh, he's going to be gone. And, you know, I thought he was going to be in Chicago with the Wolves, but, that's not the case now. And he's shown that, okay, I can still play. I still need to be here. And I think it's really, really good for him. He's proved a lot of people wrong this year. And, you get into the remaining bit of the second period, the Blues got another power play goal towards the end, and getting back to the penalty kill, really wanting that to improve. And, going into the third period, which was, something that was a little eyebrow raising for me, was Rod Brind'Amour making the goalie switch. Because, Antti Ranta, started the game, but, he allowed 3 goals on 15 shots. And, yeah, was that a part of it? Maybe. I think that, we're not used to seeing that from Brind'Amour, making a goalie switch mid-game like that, especially in a tight game, not a game that's like a total blowout or something like that. And, to see that happen, see Piotr come in the third was definitely eyebrow raising for sure. And it ended up being the right call. He only allowed, 1 goal on 11 shots. And, it I think, Rod Brind'Amour could have saw that, okay, the Blues, were getting kind of had Ronta figured out. And they were, they could really do some damage. And it was getting to the point where it was a night where goaltending may be optional. And I think in the long run, it was the right move, to make that switch. But it was definitely still one that was very, it's just not something we see often from Rod. And, and we'll hear from Rod in a bit as well. But, getting into back to Jordan Martinook and his year that he's having so far, it's crazy. He's already in 24 games played. He's at 7 goals, 5 assists, and 12 points. A +6. I know plus minus stat is, kind of, whatever. But, he's already surpassed last year's goals, 2021 goals, and, 19-20 goals. And given, those seasons were, shortened, between COVID and injury for him, he is really on the fast track to, again, having a career year. His career best year was that 18-19 season with 82 games played and, 15 goals, 10 assists, 25 points. I really think he could. I really, really do. Again, 24 games in already, 7 goals, 5 assists, 12 points. I really think he can do it. I'm starting to come around to, I think this could be a career best year for him. I really do. And I think, that hat trick, was a confidence building thing for him. And, he's the reason they won the game too, because, you get into the third period, he got his second of the night with about 4.5 minutes left in that game. And Jordan Staal, ended up having an empty netter. And yeah, Ryan O'Reilly, he was able to put him within one. Yeah, that one goal that Piotr allowed. But Marty, got down there for his empty net goal off the Brent Burns shot, and I think that it was a real confidence building thing. We've all seen kind of clip from Bally Sports of after the game of just how happy he was about it. He didn't think it was necessarily going to happen again for him, and it sucks that one at home, of course, but I really think he's got his confidence back. You can really tell and I think it's going to be big for him, going forward the rest of the year. LA on Saturday, and all the games past that. Marty, he's got some mojo going, and I think that he's a guy. We needed depth scoring, because a lot of guys weren't stepping up, and Marty, for him to be the guy to step up and do it is phenomenal, and I love to see it. And we also got to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after this game, and we will hear from Rod and what he had to say right after this quick break. Now, this episode is once again brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football, basketball, soccer, esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. And of course, your Carolina Hurricanes. We got that game against LA on Saturday. So if you're wanting to place a bet on that game, BetOnline has you covered for that. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head over to the website or use your mobile device today to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, we did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after the game against St. Louis, and this is what Rod had to say.
Jordan Martinook with that hat trick tonight, his first since 2018. What did you just see from his effort and work ethic tonight?
Wow. What can you say? I mean, he was great. He knew it. The first goal was his guy, and I just love the fact that he just turned the page. He had a tough shift there, and next thing you know, he just said, "Done," and he went ahead and was best player in the game. So, give him a lot of credit.
3 goals in 64 seconds. What did you see during that time frame?
Well, we got, obviously we got, I think that's Burnsy got the one on the power play, which is nice. So it was our only power play tonight, so, that was good that we connected there. And then, I don't know if it's sometimes that momentum builds right after a good power play, and we were able to snap home a couple more. So that was a big stretch of the game, obviously.
Pyotr Kochetkov steps up when called upon. How helpful was that?
Oh, man. I mean, he's been great, as we know. And, it's a tough spot for a goalie to get thrown in the middle of the game and be cold and the whole 9 yards. And, he played great for us. So that was huge.
Yeah, so with the Brent Burns goal, it being a power play goal, I do think, that was definitely important. I think, the Hurricanes went 1-for-1 on the power play, which, it's one power play goal, but it was 1-for-1. You won 100% on the power play. And, I think that the Hurricanes are slowly getting their power play together, because you had the goal, in this game against St. Louis. If I remember correctly, we did have, a power play. I think 2 power play goals against we had 2 power play opportunities against Pittsburgh, but we did not capitalize on either one of them. I think it was the Calgary game then that we had the power play goals in. Yes, it was the Calgary game. We had 2 power play goals in, and you know it's slowly getting there. And again, you're not going to score on every power play opportunity. No one's going to do that. It doesn't matter how good the power play is. You're not going to score on all of them. But I feel they're slowly getting there. I feel 3 power play goals in 3 games. I think that's good. I think that's something they can build off of. And while they were originally going to hold practice today, they're not now. I do feel that, it's something they need to dedicate some time to every practice is working on their power play. I know a lot of folks, and myself included, have talked about, getting a special teams coach to work especially with the power play. We'll see if and when that happens, but it's slowly getting some confidence there. I feel this team is slowly, getting that confidence back after that really ugly stretch that we had. I'm not willing to say that, all the kinks are worked out and everything. Not willing to go that far yet. But, I do feel that they got some momentum on their side. I feel this was a really good confidence building game. And, this is one they can really build off of mentally. I felt that, in that stretch, it was a mental issue for them, or part of the problem at least was a mental thing. They're in their own head. And now, you have this game right here. You're down 2-0. You were able to get a power play goal. You scored 3 goals in a little over a minute. You're able to come back and really win. Your alternate captain, who hadn't had a hat trick since 2018, is having a career year this season, a career resurgence, goes out, gets a hat trick for that game. I think this is a game that they could really build off of. Piotr, coming in, being great for the team as well. We'll see what happens with Ronta, come next game against LA of, who gets to start there. I think it'll probably be Piotr. He's kind of been the hotter set of hands. And, you have Tavo waiting in the wings as well to come back. He obviously did not play against, St. Louis, but he's on the trip and he should be close to coming back. All the other guys, they're not traveling, so it'll be a while. Freddie, Kasha, Pacioretty, and of course Gardner probably ain't gonna come back at all, but they got some stuff going, and guys are stepping up, getting the scoring done. Power plays appears to slowly be getting there, and I think really the only issue I had with this game was obviously that first period of them not being able to get anything going. Yeah, that's a testament to Bennington's stellar play in that first period. He made some phenomenal saves, but they're able to stick to their game and get through it and get the win. And I think that's really, really big for them. And one thing that I did really like and want to see continue is their 5-on-5 play, because that was something that was really good throughout this game for the most part, was how they're able to really just continue that of like, all right, their 5-on-5 play is usually pretty darn good. Power play, not so much for the majority of time this year, but they were able to get it done. And one thing with this game that we'll talk about more here in a bit is the shots and the shots on goal, because as you guys know, I've been very critical of them over the years now. I've been doing this for a while, but this one felt more balanced and better, but we'll get into that right after this. Now, folks, getting into the shots on goal thing, and some folks may say it's not important and whatnot, but the Hurricanes rank 3rd in the NHL in shots per game. They average 35.4 a game. And last night against St. Louis, they took 36 shots. And with you're ranking third in the NHL, and with the way things had been going for a long time, is pretty darn frustrating that you were taking so many shots and it wasn't coming for you. And like I've said before, it felt like they're shooting to shoot, not shooting to score. And in this game, they had things going for them. It is frustrating. Yeah, those high danger chances in the first. But again, that kind of comes back to the goalie play for the Blues. And they were, again, 36 shots, and they were able to hit 6 goals. And, yeah, 2 of them empty nets. But, even without those, I'm pleased with it, with this game. Like, all right, they got rewarded for all of the shots they took. The offense was there, and it was something that hadn't been there for a while. And all right, things are slowly starting to come together. I do hope that this wasn't a flash in the pan. I hope, whenever we get to LA tomorrow, that we're not falling back into taking 42 shots, but we only get 1 goal or something like that. I really hope that that's not the case. I hope that they continue to be able to just get rewarded for their hard play. Again, you're not going to win every game, and you're not going to score on every shot. But I think that the Hurricanes, they have momentum on their side now, and I think that's going to be big, especially coming out of the rough patch they were in. You got 3 quality wins, and no overtime in this one either. This was a regulation win, and I think that's good for the Hurricanes, especially, coming off, a bunch of overtime games. You got it done in regulation. And again, it may not seem like much at all. It probably isn't anything at all. But for me, I'm like, all right, we didn't need extra time for this one. We got it done in the 60 minutes. We got it done, And I think that the Hurricanes, I'm not willing to say they got all their issues worked out. No, I don't think they do. But I think, and I hope, God, I hope the worst is over. I hope we've seen the worst of it. And, we're in the beginning of December now. I'm really hoping that the early season issues and whatnot that we're seeing of guys struggling to gel and whatnot, I hope that's over. I think the real issue now will be consistency, and can they keep it up? Can we? Again, you're not going to win every game, but can you still play quality games more often than not? Yeah, there's going to be more stinkers this year. We all know that. And they're probably going to get shut out again at some point this season. And I just hope the worst is over and they can stay consistent. Like their 5-on-5 play. It's consistently good. Let's see that continue. The penalty kill is seemingly on the way up. Let's see that happen. Power play is slowly seeming to get better. 3 power play goals in 3 games. Like, let's see this continue. And again, it's not going to happen every game, but I want it to be more often than not, because it was, more often than not, the power play is god awful and you're not going to score on it. And it's just going to be all around bad. Let's hope that's done. One thing that will be interesting now is whenever guys start coming back from injury, whenever Tavo comes back, Kasha comes back, Pacioretty comes in, Freddie comes back, of what happens, what's the deal? What are we going to do? And how are things going to fit in? Like, Pacioretty hasn't played with the team at all. Kasha played 1 game. Freddie, he'll fit back in easier. Same with Tavo, but it's going to be really interesting to see, when these guys come back and come in general, what's going to happen. I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. And At the end of the day, we're just going to have to continue to speculate on it, hope for the best, but we won't know until we know. I think we could see Tavo tomorrow, but I also not holding my breath either. I'd want him to take his time, make sure he's 100% because you remember that concussion season a few years, 2 years ago, I believe it was. Not great. I want him to take his time, be ready, not be like, oh yeah, I'm ready, coach. And he's not. I want him to be ready. Same with Freddie, same with the Kashas, same with Pacioretty, same with Gardner. All of them. I want them to be actually ready to come back. But that's all stuff. We'll talk about it whenever it happens. But in the meantime, let's enjoy this win. We got 3 straight wins. Let's make it 4 tomorrow against LA. I think they can. I hope they can. But we'll just have to wait and see. But in the meantime, make sure you are following Locked On Hurricanes on Twitter and Instagram at @LO_Hurricanes. Myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And once again, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen. And for your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast with the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Locked On Sports Today is available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode.